Okay, so what we're going to be doing today in our first half, as I mentioned to you, we're going to be going through the exercise for bonus 8. I'll be going through it step by step, demonstrating. You're going to have a chance to ask your questions. You're going to, depending on how much time we have, I'll be going through some of the questions that you have submitted, okay? So I can clarify them as well. But again, along the way, as I go through the demonstration, ask me questions. Use this time well to sort it out any questions that you may have there. Don't wait for me to finish everything and then you're going to ask your question. No, ask your questions as I demonstrate, as I go along, okay? Great. So again, first half will be about this. We're going to have a break there, 10 minutes break, and then we jump to our midterm. 10 bits, I would think that it's for the first half of the class here. Second half, you're going to be busy. So again, enjoy. If you want me, I can pass it around. Any questions before we get started with the bonus 8 exercise, the patient system? Any questions? Okay, so let's get down to it. You can pick up the little tokens, the tickets.
Thank you.
It's how much you have to pay to enter the party. That's okay. That's okay. What should we find out? Oh. Okay. So I'm going to open the description of what that asked you for bonus 8. Okay, so on bonus 8, I asked that you create your website is a registration tool for adding patients to a medical system. Registered patients will be held in a repository. Again, can be any memory repository. That repository, because you're going to be adding and remove, not removing, but you're going to be adding. So we're going to be using a very simple repository, in-memory repository, very in line with what you have seen on part invites. You're going to be using a static class to hold that repository, okay? After registering the patient, display a thank you view stating patient has been successfully registered as occupation on current dates. The bolded elements, they are dynamic. So here we're going to have the patient name, the occupation getting replaced as well, and the current date being replaced by the registration date of that patient. Your site will include navigation for returning to the registration page and to a patient's list. So in terms of views, I foresee here that we're going to have an index view. It will be our main, our starting point, our home view, our home page. So we're going to have an index. We're going to have a form to be able to add a patient. You're going to have a list to be able to list the patients. And we're going to also have a thank you view to be able to just show a thank you message when a new patient gets registered. Okay? All shared elements on the page should be contained in a layout file in a single CSS. If you want to use Bootstrap, you can. However, even if you use Bootstrap, I still want to see your own CSS, even if it has just one definition, but create your own CSS as well. Even if you are using Bootstrap, create your own so I can see that you know how to create your own CSS if you need to, okay? Each page should follow the same design, so we're going to be using a layout file, sharing common look and feel, which again, we're going to be using for that a layout file, okay? So we're going to go, in a way, point by point, and we're going to be addressing each one. Now, I want to do this collaborative. I don't want to be the only one speaking here. So I'm going to ask you to help me out as I go along, okay? By the way, I have Padlet open as well. If I don't, I will. So again, during the demonstration, during this part, again, if you want to ask a question, and if Padlet is working, let's see here. So yeah, so if you want to ask a question there as well, it's fine. I'll be looking for your questions there. Okay, so let's start here. So create an ASP.NET Core 2.1 MVC project using an empty templates. Okay, so let's do that there. Visual Studio, new project, and then ASP.NET. I'm going to call this patients. Patients. It's not asking you to give any particular name, so you could have named it the way you want. Again, at the top, make sure that you are using 2.1. Again, very important. If you use a newer version, things may not work as expected. If you use an earlier version, the same thing. So make sure that you use 2.1. Make sure that you uncheck configure for HTTPS so you don't have problems with HTTPS. Okay, this is not necessary. Actually, again, you should uncheck this. Okay, so what now? What do I do? Let's create the folders, okay? So again, MVC, let's take care of the 3 folders there. I'm going to go and add models. New folder for views. And controllers. Okay, great. So 3 folders here. Then what? What would I do next? I mean, there are many ways that you can follow here. But if we are taking care of the basic aspects, the plumbing aspects of our application, what would you suggest for me to move on next? The startup. So let's work on the startup. We're going to make it simple, very simple here in the startup. First, we're gonna set up the configure services here. What is it that I should enter here? Services dot add. So we're gonna add the MVC service. Okay, that's the first one. And then under configure, what should I get rid of? I should get rid of this. And then I should add, if I just want the standard routing, what should I add here? So I'm going to go with app dot, again, if you don't remember the whole thing, if you just remember default, just start typing default and see, use MVC with default routes, okay? So we're going to be using a very basic routing schema. We're not going to be using anything complicated, anything complex that we have seen already, but we're not going to be using them. And because I will also want to have our www root folder available, I also need to add an extra method here, an extra line here. So I'm going to go with app static. So use static files. This method will make available the www root folder to our application. Okay? So you're going to be able to make references to CSSs, to images that we may add there. Okay? If you got later, you can pick up a prize here. There's a prize here. I'm serious. I'm serious. If you got later, if you did not get one of those, You should. It's a surprise. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Now, someone may want to explain him, them. That's so maybe someone again. So I'll show a quick one here. The number has to match one of those, so you know where you're gonna sit. Okay, that's it. I'll give 1, 2, 3, 5 euros. I'm gonna close this, and then you're not gonna have a place to sit. Okay, again, just find your number and try to sort it out there with. Okay, I'm gonna move forward here. You're gonna sort it out. You're gonna figure out one place to sit. Just make sure that wherever you sit, that if you need the station, the workstation, it will be working. Okay, 8 to 1, and then from here there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
6.3.
Okay, so again. Okay, again, let's not lose the momentum here. So we have here defined our static files, our MVC default route. Great. We have, in a way, we have our basic plumbing elements in place here. Okay?
Did you add MVC?
Yeah, service.add MVC. So again, the basic elements are in place. Now let's have a look at our. Let's see here. How about to take care of the model? Okay, we have a patient model that we need to put in place. So let's do that. Let's do this here. Okay, this model, I'm going to actually, you know what, at this point, just set whatever. We did already a good mix here. That's fine. Okay, so patients. Which folder are we creating that patient under, this class? So models. So I'm going to go to models. I'm going to go to add, new class. I'm going to call this patient. And I just have a basic set of properties here. A string, an integer, string, a Boolean, another Boolean, and there are a few different options that you could do with merit status. I'm going to go with the numbers. I'm going to go with 1 for married, 2 for single, 3 for divorced, 4 for widowed. It could be an enumeration. Don't go for the string here. String is the least desirable option here. We should, if we have a set of options for that particular property, let's not use a text, because text demands, or string demands a lot of storage. We can map a number to each one of the status. Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, I'm just gonna copy this, and I will explain some of what you see here in a second. Okay, so top to bottom, string name, again, nothing too fancy here. This is comp229 all over again. String name, age, integer, address, occupation, has insurance as a Boolean, had previous operation as another Boolean, marital status, I'm just putting it as an integer. And we have also, because it's one of the points, see this point here, create a patient model reflecting the collected information and the date and time the patient was registered. Different ways to handle that. I'm going to go, 1, this is the name of my field, but 2, how am I going to initialize this? Well, I can initialize this right here. I could initialize this in the constructor. I could initialize this when you're creating the class in your controller. different ways that you can do this. I'm just going to go with the one that I find to be the simplest one, which I can just say something like this. I can say equals to datetime.now. With this, right away, right after I create a patient, the registration date gets set automatically to the current date and time. Again, this is a date time, so both date and time, they are together here. They come together when I do this assignment here. So now we'll pick up the current date and time of the server. In your case, from your workstations, okay? Any questions here? Again, Padlet is there.
Why we didn't put it inside set instead of putting that?
This is just a. Actually, here's the thing. Could we do this inside that? I'm here. This is just initializing for the first time. So if I change later this value by any chance, I could read a new value. If you put this directly under get, what will happen is that every time you retrieve the date, it will get a new date and a new time. Okay? This, by doing this, you are just initializing it once for the first time. Okay. Do we need a question mark in the declaration of Boolean property? Okay. One thing is that we are not doing validation here. Okay. We are not. Again, this is a very basic application. We're not even doing validation. Boolean for the Boolean here, I would not put a question mark because when we look at the interface, we have two options only. Either the checkbox is checked, and it means true, or is unchecked, and it means false. There's no state that those fields could be that is undetermined. It's so because if we put the question mark, we would be making the properties nullable, so they could potentially have a null, but again, has insurance and it had previous operation. It's either yes or no. Even the interface, there is no way, even in the interface, that we can say, oh, we didn't set this yet. If you didn't check, you are setting it to false. If you check, you are setting it to true. So the question mark here is really only applicable in situations that that property can be null, potentially. In our case here, it won't, okay? Again, if it's not clear, let me know. Date and time. Can I create the variable to hold the current date and time under the index action? Actually, no, because here's the thing. Create a patient model reflecting the collected information and the date and time of the patient registered. So here it's asking that the date and time be part of the model. So for the date and time to be part of the model, we have to have it as a property of our patient model. Okay? And again, even if you had that in the index, if you... Sorry, I may have misread this. So can I create the variable to hold the current date? Okay. What you can do is you can set in the index action. This can potentially work, but there would be more involved to make sure that this would work. Again, I can have a look at that 101 with whoever posted this. We're going to have some time towards the end of our half time. But again, this can work, but it depends what else you have done there. Not very clear answer, but again, there are some questions that we need to put the question in a broader context, in a more specific context. Okay, so date and time. So we have our patient model now. Let's keep moving forward here. Any questions? Let me see here. Okay. How about, let's not get to the repository yet. Let's start to create some of the basic elements of our application here. So if we stop to think and you ask yourself, how can I make this run? What are the elements that I need to put in place right now to make this at least run? What would you do next? You could create a view. So, but before we create the view, what do we need to create before that? We need to have a controller. So let's create the default one. So which controller am I going to create here? Home controller. Okay. So let's create our controller.
Not necessarily it needs to have the same name, right? To have
Well, if you are using default routing, it has to be called home. Okay? Because otherwise, you will not have a startup controller. Should be the. See, when you run the application for the first time, it has no. It has the domain, but not the rest of the URL. So we need to have a home controller because the home is the default controller. Otherwise, who is the default controller? Because we are using this, unless you are using your own custom rules that you can say, oh, home is not the default, this other one is the default one. But you have to have a default one. Now, because we are making this simple, we are using default routing here, which means that home is the default controller. Now, home controller, it inherits from controller. Yep. So I usually like to do this. So it adds there. Great. So it's added. Then what? What's our first action that we're going to be creating here? The default action. The index. So we're going to say public view result. The default action is index. And then I'm just going to return a view here. Okay, so we are returning our default view. What next? What's next? So we have to create our index view. Before we create the index view, what do we need to do now? Are we create the index view straight inside views? We have to create a folder under it called home. And then under home, we can create our view. Again, I like to go with this option here, razor view. Index is the name. I'm just going to confirm. I'm going to get rid of everything that is here. Will our home view have a model associated with it? Will it have? I mean, anything special are you going to be displaying there? Any data related thing that we are displaying there? No need for a model here. Okay, we are not giving any models to it. We're not passing anything to this particular view. We're gonna enhance it a little bit in a bit. Actually, let's put it already here. Let's have a look at our list. Can we use string instead of, okay, as I was mentioning, method starts with string, will it work? Yes, it will, but it's not advisable. It's not recommended. If you have a discrete set of options, like for instance, if you have gender, marital status, options that you know that it can be A, B, C, D, or E, it's better to associate a number to each one of them because it's more efficient, it has a better performance, it will store less information in the database. So again, for drop-down list of options, don't store the string. Store a number associated with that option, okay? Well, would it work if you store just the string? Yes, it would. But again, I'm here to also teach you the best practice of the trade, okay? Why not create the partial view first? Actually, we're not going to even create a partial view here. Nowhere in this exercise asked for a partial view. Again, you can get creative. You can be as creative as you want to be. But stick to what is being asked. Again, otherwise, you may get yourself into too much complication here. Nowhere in the exercise I ask for a partial view. Okay? So again, I'm not even gonna I'll not even show an example of partial view here because again, let's not overcomplicate. We are trying to keep things simple, and in line with what you're going to be going through in the second half of today. Can we use normal view for the index? Can we use normal view? Well, what is an abnormal view? What is the opposite of normal? Again, we are using a normal view. I don't know what you mean by use a normal view. If you want to unpack that a little bit.
Instead of like add view, but instead you said add new item.
Oh, okay, yes. In the end, even if you use this option here, like add view, you're going to still delete everything in the file. So in the end, you're going to have a file. I'm just going to create here, let's say, index 2, just for the sake of test here. So if I do this, and I don't even know if this will work here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Bottom line is that it will still show a bunch of HTML codes that I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to get rid of it. So in the end, we have the exact same thing. We have an empty file that you're going to be building from scratch here. Okay? Just going to get rid of this. Okay. Okay, so let me go back here to... it asked us to create a layout file. Let's take care of that. Let's take care of creating a layout file, okay? So we put together our index, we have our controller, we have our action. Let's create our layout file. So layout file will be sitting under which folder? So we're going to have a shared, and then under shared, you're going to have new item, and then I'm going to select here eraser layout. I can keep the same name. If you want to change this name, that's fine. Keep the underscore in front of it, but again, we're doing a simple application, so you can keep the name just underscore layout. That's fine. Okay. Great. So we have our basic structure here. Now, for our index to use this layout, what do we have to do? We have to do something here in our view, in our index view. So we have to write a code block here, a razor block, and you're going to have to say what? Layout equals to the one that we just created, underscore layout. Okay, that's the first thing. The other thing that we're going to do, let's use the view bag as well. Let's set the view bag, the title. In our home page, let's set this to home. This will become the title of our page, okay?
use the view start.
I could have. I'm just trying to stick to the most simple approach and sticking to what is asked. But yes, you could have created a view starts and then move this line here to the view starts. Okay? Okay, so let's put some content in this index file. So I'm just going to put some HTML there. Again, nothing too fancy here. It's just a title. Welcome to the patient system. You will be able to register new patients, see the list of patients. That's it. Again, you don't need to stick to what I'm writing here. You can write anything in your index view. I'm not asking for any functionality specifically in the index. However, I'm asking to have a common navigation set of options that will be common across all the different views. So if I want to specify the links to list patients, to add new patients, to home, where should I put that? What is the most appropriate location for me to put the navigation if it will be common across the views? In the layout. So let's have a look at the layout there. And what I can do is at the very top here, I could write my navigation. I want to navigate, be able to go to home, be able to go to list, be able to go to register new patients. Okay? So what can I do here? Well, I can do a simple tag. So let's just do a bunch of links here. Let's use the tag helper. So I would say ASP dash what? To call the action. Action equals to the first one. And here, there's something that we are missing here. What is it? See, it's not bolded, it's not activated. Tag helper. Yes, yes. So we have to add a view imports. Now, where do I put the view imports?
Under the views.
Directly under the views. Okay? So I'm going to add. Again, I'm going to be I will be calling the tag helper, the definition, so I can use them. I can use tag helpers throughout the application. So I'm going to go to views. I'm going to add a new item. And this time around, we're going to have a view. Which one? A view imports. Okay? So, view imports here, layout under shared. Now, I do not remember that line. That's fine. That's the reason why this is open book. And you can just get that particular little line over there. So we're going to add the tag helper. And with this reference, if we go back now to our layout, now you see ASP-action is activated. It means that the tag helpers are available now for the application. Okay, so the action is list. Sorry. The action, the first one, we're going to put home, list, and add. So we're going to say action. The first one will be index. We're going to call this home. I'm going to put a pipe here so we can have some separation. I'm going to put another link. I'm going to say ASP-action. Now, let's think about this. Let's call our list patients just list. So we didn't create this action yet, but I'm just setting things up here first. And then we're going to say list of patients. And then I'm going to say ASP-action. The last one will be for the form, will be for the registration form. So let's call this register. And let's call this add patient. Okay, so 3 actions. I'm just going to break them down to be a little bit better to visualize. Okay. Again, we could go to different places right now, to different ways right now. I just decided that I want to finish working on the layout. So for me to work on the layout a little bit further, I want to add a CSS. I want to add my own CSS. So where should I add my CSS file? Under www roots. Now, directly under it, or should I create something here inside of it? Create a folder called, let's say, called CSS. So let's add a new folder. I'm going to call this CSS. I'm going to add inside of it. I'm going to add a new item, a new style sheet. Again, you can keep this name. I'm just going to call this styles. Here we have our styles. For now, I'm not going to change anything. Again, later I may want to make some changes here. I may want to add some definitions here down the road. But right now, I'm just going to get rid of everything that is there. I'm going to just keep as an empty file for now. Now, I want to make a reference to this file. Where should I make this reference if I want the CSS to be applied across? In the, again, we go back to the layout file, and you're going to create here a link tag. Style sheets, and the source, and the href will be CSS styles. Now, okay, I'm going to get rid of this tilde. I have seen this little guy giving problems before, so I'm just going to remove it from here. Okay, so great. With that, we pretty much took care of the layout file and having a single CSS. Now, one thing that I want to mention is that, again, it doesn't matter which logo you choose to use, but add an image there as well. Add an image, make it as similar, at least with the elements that you see here. So I'm going to add an image just so I can show that, hey, this is how you can add an image here. So images, we're going to create a new folder under www root called images. And I'm just going to copy this little image from another folder that I have that. Again, you can just Google any logo there or add anything. I mean, as long as you add at least an image that I know, okay, they know how to add an image. I'm going to go to the folder. And I'm just going to paste it there. Okay, so I'm going to just make a quick reference to that image. So let's add this to the top, close to our navigation. So I'm going to say image src equals to images, patient, and that will show me an image. Now, this image is a little bit big, so it will take quite a lot of space here. I'm not going to change it now, but we're going to have to resize it a little bit afterwards. Okay, so where are we? So we have this, we have the model. Actually, let's finish. Let's try to make this run, because we have the basic elements. We have index, we have the controller. Yeah, we should be able to see this running. So let's give it a try. Okay, logo is a little bit big. So let's resize that. Actually, I'm gonna use our CSS now. I'm gonna just say class equals to logo. And I'm gonna define that in our style. So I'm gonna say dot logo. I'm gonna say width. I'm gonna say 70 pixels. Let's see if this, now, sometimes, because, yeah, it worked. Sometimes it gets cached, so you don't see it right away. So you may have to do a Control-R when you are refreshing. A Control-R, it forces the browser to clear the cache and display things again. So, okay, so I'm okay here with our, we have an image, we have a CSS that we have added. Let's see if the CSS is accessible. So CSS is accessible, that's fine. Oh, good. Great. Now before we get to the list of patients, let's get to the add patient, because if we go to the list of patients, it won't list anything because we don't have patients yet. So I think that the natural next step would be to create our add patients action, our registered action. So let's do that. I'm just going to close a few things here. Okay, so we're going to go to our controller and create the action, this one here, the register action. So I'm going to say public, view result, and I'm going to call this register. And we're going to return a view. Register view. Now what? What's next? We have to create a view. I'm going to name it register because, again, we are not passing any parameters to this view. So it will look for a view with the same name as our action. Okay, so I'm going to say home, right click, add new item. I'm going to add a razor view. I'm going to call this register. I'm going to clean this and start from scratch here. Okay, so our register form, are we going to have a model attached to this form? Yep. Patients. Okay, so let's do that. Model patients. Okay. Now it's complaining. It's complaining about what? Namespace. How do I solve this? Add to, yeah, so one of the ways, I could add the entire path here, the namespace, but let's do a more elegant way. Let's go to our view imports, and let's add a directive here that says at using what? Well, the name of your application, which is patients.models. By doing that, every class inside models becomes available to the rest of the views. So we can go back to our register, and now you see, we no longer have the squiggly red line. Okay? Okay, great. Now what? Yeah, yes? A problem with the header?
Yeah, reference.
A problem with the reference. In the view, you mean the view imports?
Yes.
Okay. What's the problem? I mean, is that showing some sort of error? What is it?
Red line.
Red line under what?
Under
The models. Okay. Make sure that this name here, make sure it's the name of your project. Do you have a models folder already? Do you have a patients class inside your models folder?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So let's sort it out. Let's find out here.
So it's my
No semicolon at the end. No semicolon. Yeah. Should.
but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Models.
Patient system.
Yeah.
Let me look at something here.
Yeah.
First, let's save this. You know what? Let's take 5 minutes. Let's take a quick break, 5 minutes. We come back, we carry on, okay? Okay, so let's see.
I built and rebuild the project again, but it doesn't work.
See, your patient is pointing to this namespace. This should be models. You may have created this before in another folder. Then you moved it.
Oh yeah.
So it has, yeah, did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has to be called models here.
Sorry.
See here, views, it says views.
Yeah.
It should be models.
Models.
Yes,
Yes.
that's it. Yep.
So when I'm trying to run this, just showing this error.
Okay, okay, click OK. Do we have any other instance of Visual Studio running or just that one?
Just this one.
Okay, can you click that little arrow in the corner there? Actually, do this. Close Visual Studio. Open it again. Let's just open that project. Okay, great. You are opening the. Okay. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, give it a try.
did my own version, doing one like so there it is. It's mine, so it's
Okay.
So they saying I have to go to the debug and app URL and just change it, but that's the
Yeah, change that number there. Were you running it before? I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. So they say like I have to delete the VS.
Oh, delete. So
But then like I have to
no, but when you before you delete the VS, you have to close Visual Studio.
yeah. So
Yeah, close it. Try. It might be okay. So open it again. Open there.
and then when I try to change the URL,
Don't change it yet. Let's just try to run it. Let's just try to run it.
Things fell off.
Okay, let me have a look.
I think the car like ran. Is the bus driver?
What, is it here under this folder? The solution.
What's the second bulletin that you put for the index?
The second.
Yeah, second bulletin.
Sorry.
Index. And the home view.
Oh,
Yeah, what's the second bulletin that you used?
it's. It was that?
What, here?
Yeah, I guess so.
Register, you can see it on.
That's not necessary. For this.
Slightly. Oh, application here. Okay. Oh, okay.
So there's like online class.
Was it working before?
No. Actually working on mine, but
Yeah,
working on
try to restart, because otherwise we may lose here. We may have, we may need half an hour to see what's going on. I'll try to restart.
Yeah, I had the same thing. So I just
Okay,
restarted.
give it a try to restart. Delete the .vs folder.
I don't even have it online.
Oh, actually, go to view, hidden items.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So, but you can only delete if you close, when you close Visual Studio. So close Visual Studio, then try to delete that. Okay, let's carry on here. Actually, I have not been looking at Padlet, so let me have a look there, okay? Okay, so let me see where I stopped here. So we are creating our register, okay? So what now? What's next? So we need a code block, so very similar to index. So we have to add this. Layout is the same, but this is now add new patient. This becomes a title. Then, what do I have to do now? Again, we are creating the entry, what? The entry form. So we're gonna create our form here. We're gonna say form. Then in our form tag, we have to specify the action. The action will be the register action. We have not created it yet, but it will be called register. We have not created the post action yet. And the method is a post. Okay, so we have our form here. Now it's a matter of listing the properties that we're going to be adding to the form. So I'm going to this one here. Actually, let me start manually here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use put in the table format. If you want to use a table, that's fine. If you want to use divs, that's fine. Again, I'm not so much worried about how your layout will work. Okay, I'm more interested of are you being able to capture the information. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the first one here, patient name. I'm gonna close the table. And I'm just gonna add, so first line, patient name, then we have the next one. Again, age, we have a simple input for the patient name, ASP-4. With that, I'm linking to the name property. So this works because name is a property of patient. If I say something like a name, no, first name. Wait a second, squiggly line, because it cannot find a property called first name in the patient. So we are, and again, this is called model binding. We are binding the model, we are binding the form directly to the model. Okay, and I'm going to add the other fields. So age, same structure for each and every one. Address, again, input, ASP-4, address, occupation, same idea. So again, name, age, address, and occupation. Now we have a few different fields here. We have an input box, sorry, a checkbox. So it's still an input, but the type is set to checkbox. okay? And the property that we are binding has insurance. So this becomes a true or false when this form gets submitted. True if it's checked, false if it's unchecked, which is by default. The same thing with the next one, which is had previous operation. Okay, so again, ASP-form-4, okay? Okay. And the last one is a drop-down. So the drop-down, again, could you have done with strings? Yes, you could. I decided to do with numbers. There is also the option to do with an enum and enumerable. Again, I just decided to use each number will mean a different status. So I'm just gonna get this here. Again, a lot of this is HTML. So we have the select, which is for the drop down. We link it to marital status with the ASP-4 property, okay? And then we set them up. I'm setting the first one as an empty string. Just ask the user to select. Again, you don't need to follow exactly this. It was just my way of putting this together. Okay. Now what? Now what is it that we are missing here in our table? Sorry, not in our table, in our form. A save. So I can go to the very bottom here and I can say which control should I use here to do the saving? I'm going to be using a button. The type is equal to a submit. And we're going to call this save. So when we click the save button, and someone, I think from another section asked, how can I specify the action for the save? How would you answer that? How can you define what will happen when you click on save? How does it know where it should go?
Because of the form?
Because of the form. So if you go to the very top, because this is a submit type, it will submit the form that it is on, that it is inside. So it goes to this action as a post, okay? So that's what our save will do. Let's have also a cancel here. But let's do our cancel as a link, okay? So I'm going to do ASP-action. A cancel, what I want to do with a cancel is I want to go back to the home page. So action should be what? To go back to the initial page. Index. So the action should be index. Okay? And then I can say that this is cancel. Okay, so let's have a look if we can see something here. Let's make this run. Okay, so if I click Add Patient, I can see our form. I can see Save, I can see Cancel. If I click Cancel, it goes back to the home. If I go back there, if I click Save, it doesn't do anything because we did not code that yet, okay? So we have the properties, the fields here, but we need to create our register here. So let's have a look at our home controller. But I have a register already. You may say, how do I handle it? What do I do from here to create the correct action? How do I handle the submit action here? Yes, so we need another action which is flagged as HTTP post. So this one we're gonna flag as a get. Just to make it very clear which one is which. In this one we're gonna flag as a post, and we're gonna say public view result. Let's return a view result as well. Usually it would be better to just return an iAction result, but it's okay to just return another view result. We're gonna call this register. Now, right now, it is the same as our old register, as our original one. What is the difference between this one and this one? What else are we missing here? The parameter. The parameter will be what? Again, parameter, we have to have a look at our model here. So it has to be a patient. So it will receive a new patient. So we're going to say patient. Patient. So and here's complaining about the namespace. I'm just going to put the namespace there. Here's the namespace. Now, we are getting a patient. What are we going to do with this patient? So we have to now take care of our repository because we have to save it somewhere. Okay? So I'm gonna create a very simple repository here, very similar to the pod invites. It won't be using it won't be using an interface. It will be a very simple repository. So simple that we're gonna be making this class a static class. So we don't even need to instantiate. So I'm just gonna say, oops, in the models, I'm gonna say add class. I'm just gonna say repository. Okay, and as I said, I'm gonna create a very simple class. It won't be even dynamic, it will be a static class. I'm doing the static because I need the data in this repository to be available throughout the application, throughout the session that I'm running, okay? And I don't want to be recreating this class over and over again after each submission. I want to make it, again, this is very simple. Static, public static class. Now, which structure will be holding our collection of patients? What type are we going to be using? A list. A list. We're going to be using a list, okay? So I'm going to create a private list here. Again, in object-oriented coding, programming, usually you keep data private and you expose the data via public properties. That's what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to create a private list, which I'm going to call patients. Actually, let's go with a lowercase p, patients. And this is a list of patients. And we're going to be creating a new okay, what am I missing here? Oh, because this is a static class, I need to define the members of this class as static as well. So I'm going to say static. Okay. Now I'm going to expose the list of patients by using a property. Our property will be a public property. We're going to be using here, remember, actually, what is I'm missing here? I'm missing this. Sorry, I'm just mixed up here. That's fine. Okay, I'm going to create an enumerable here to return the patient list here, okay? So usually you expose the collections via an enumerable. You could have used a list as well. So I'm gonna declare a public static enumerable of patients. I'm gonna call this patient, and this will be a read-only property. I'm gonna just write a get, so I can expose and return the patients when I call that. So again, with this, I'm storing the list of patients privately, but I'm exposing the list via a public property called, well, patients. There should be patients. Okay? Okay, then what? We have now our list. What is it that we need to be able to do with this repository? We need to be able to add patients, okay? So I'm going to create a public method, a public void, public static void method called add or add patients. It will get a parameter called of type patients. And then, what is it that I'm going to do? Yep, patients. So I'm going to go to our patients private list here and add this one. Yes.
Going back to the date time.
Yep.
Can I set the date time here?
You could. That's fine. That's fine as well. Again, different ways to handle that. You could. Okay, so now we can add. We have our repository ready to go. Let's go back now to the controller. And in our register, we have to call our repository and add this patient to our static repository. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of this for now, because I cannot see this side very well. Okay, repository dot add, and then I'll give it the patient. But then I have to return some sort of view here. So I have to say return view. Now let's think about this. Which view should we be returning here? Some sort of confirmation. Actually, this one here, if you go back to this, you see, after registering a patient, display a thank you view stating patient so-and-so successfully registered as da-da-da on this date. Okay, so we're going to call this thank you view. Well, first of all, we have to create the view. So I'm going to go back to our home, our views home. I'm going to add a new item. This will be a razor view. I'm going to call this thank you. Okay. Now, following the same pattern, I'm going to get this block here in our thank you. I'm going to say that this is thank you. Now, our thank you, it needs to display some information about the patient. So, how can we do that? We have to set a model here. So we have to say at model and it has to be linked to the patient model. Great. And then we're going to use from patient, we're going to use the name, the occupation, and the date that that the person was registered. So we're going to be using at model dot name. We're going to be using at model dot occupation, and we're going to be using at model. I'm just writing them down. I'll be reorganizing this. Model dot date, registration date. Now, let's put a message around that. This is it. See, I'm just going to copy this. Patient, we're going to replace with the name of the patient. Has been successfully registered as occupation, so we're going to replace that as occupation. On current date, this is the registration date. And I can make this a little bit bigger, so I can put this inside of H4. And I'm just going to put this as a nice message. Let's see here. Let's give this a try. Let's try to run this. It's not working? I'll have a quick look. Let me just run it here. Are you getting an error, or something is not?
It's giving me red lines.
Red lines? Okay. We'll take care of that. Let's give it a try here. So John Smith, 23. Street. And let's say you had structure, insurance, single. Let's save this. And it's not working. Let's find out. Of course, of course. Yes. So let's go back to our controller, home controller. I did not call the thank you view here. So we are missing that. I'm missing that. So I have to call, when I'm posting to the register, I have to call our view. New view is called thank you. But what else do I send to this thank you view? What else? Yeah, we have to send the model. So we have to say patients. So the same patient that we saved here, we're going to send that over as the model to the thank you page. Okay? So this should now work. Okay, add a patient, let's say. Okay, so John Smith has been successfully registered as a coder on da-da-da. Okay? Last but not least, we have our list of patients that we need to implement. I will have a look at that. I'm just going to get done with the list of patients, and then I will have a closer look at that. You're going to have some time to do that. So in our list, well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our action. Let's create our list action. Okay? So I'm going to say public, view results, list, and I'm going to return view. What am I going to give to this view? What do I send to the list view? The repository. More specifically, which property of the repository? Patients. So we're going to send the patients. And now we have to create our list view. So under home, we go to add new item. We're going to add a new view, razor view, a list. And now, once again, we have to use this block to say that we are using the layout. The title will be list of patients. And what is the model of this view? So we're gonna set our model here as an I enumerable of patients. Now what? Now we have to loop through. We have to loop through the list and print them out. Okay? Great. So I'm going to go with a table header first. And I'm going to say tr. And then I'm going to put the name of the fields. So name and so on. Actually, let me just copy this. So I'm just going to put the names of the properties. So this becomes the header of our table. And then we're going to do a for each loop here. So we're going to say for each what? We can use a var, we can use patient. So for each patient, so I can say for each patient, P in what? In model. Then I'm going to loop through it. I'm going to say, and I'm going to print the lines of each property. So I'm going to say tr, td, and this is at p, because we are using p as a patient. I'm going to say p dot name. And here I'm going to add property by property. That's it. So dot name, dot address, dot occupation. Let me see so name, age actually. Age, address, occupation. For now, I'm just gonna put insurance as well, and we're gonna change this a little bit. Previous operation, merit status, the same thing, I'm gonna put it here. And registration date. Again, I'm just printing them out. Nothing too fancy here. I'll do some adjustments here, but first let's see if this is running. Apparently all is in place. Yep, let's give this a try. Okay, so list of patients, again, just the empty table. I'm going to add a patient here. I'm going to mark both of them. I'm going to say married here, save. We have the summary there, the thank you page, the thank you. If I go to list, I see the data there. Now, let's make 3 adjustments here. Let's adjust this has insurance to show yes or no. Let's adjust had previous operation to show yes or no. In merit status, let's use a switch statement to show the proper text, okay? So let's do that back here in our view. Sorry. So in our list, I'm going to use an inline test here, which I can say question mark. If this is true, show yes. Otherwise, show no. Make sure that if you use something like this, you put inside parentheses, okay? Because otherwise it will not work. I can do the same thing with the next Boolean. I can say if this is true, show yes, else show a no. Okay? This will handle those fields. Now, marital status, I'm going to have to use a switch statement. So I'm going to just open up a little bit more space here so I can code the switch statement. So I can say switch. I can test the value of marital status. I can say, I open brackets here, curly braces. I can say case 1, display married. Remember to use the break as well for switch statements. Then I can say, I can repeat this for each one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think this is, actually, let me see here the options. In our register, so married, single, divorced, and widowed. Married, single, divorced, widowed. And with this, see, I'm using the at column. At column means that whatever comes after that, it should be considered just HTML, just text. Okay, it's not a command. Okay. Okay, so with that, let me refresh this, because I was changing the view, and we should not need to restart to make this work. So you see, now as insurance, it shows yes. Marital status, it shows married. Let's have a look at our requirements. So we have the application, we have the model. The model is being collected with the date and time. We have created a repository. We have created a patient list to display the list of patients, including the date. The list view must display the list of patients. Oh, we missed that. So again, very good, very important that you refer back to what is being asked and make sure that you check, you double check that each item is being covered. I missed this one here. So how can we list alphabetically? Where should I go from here to list that? So we're going to go to our home controller, to our list, and then what? Exactly. So we're going to say dot order by, and again, using a lambda expression here, we're going to say P for patients, order by name. And that's our ordering. Okay? Let's give it a go. Okay, so I'm gonna add one. I'm gonna add John. I'm gonna say merit, and I'm gonna save this. It's in the list. I'm gonna add someone. Let's see my name really here. 12. Actually, let's add this one. And let's go to list of patients. And as you can see, even though I add John first, but it's ordering by name right now. Again, we can make this fancier. We can add Bootstrap. We can make those views to look a little bit better. But I'm not asking that in the description, okay? So I'm not asking that in the exercise. Let's just keep checking here. So list view must display the list of patients in alphabetical order by patient's name. Check. We are done with that. We have an icon. We have our form. Create controller actions to support the functionality of each page in general site navigation. Great. Checked. We did that. Create a CSS file to style your views. Great. We did that. Handle all navigation in CSS in a layout file. We did that as well. And in terms of implementing best practices and acceptable conventions and standards in your code, include only files and elements necessary. So I don't use a template. Use the empty template to put together, because otherwise that MVC template will bring a lot of extra files in your project. You don't want that. Place files in the appropriate folders. We have done that. Use consistent and logical naming conventions for classes and variables. I think that we did that. Be consistent in the use of CSS. Well, we didn't use much CSS here, but that's fine. That's okay. Questions? I'm tired of talking. Your turn. Okay, I want to open a few of the questions that were submitted. But before that, I still have that problem? Yeah. Yep. Okay, so show me.
So I'll have this.
Okay, model is capital M.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yep.
The home controller, for some reason, doesn't see this.
How did you call your? Oh, you see, misspelling. Just a misspelling there. Misspelling.
Oh, it just.
Okay. All good?
But the name's though.
Yeah.
P done.
Yep.
Oh, it's P done.
Can I ask you a question about the assignment?
Yep. You can.
So you asked us to use a partial view.
Mm-hmm.
I used my entire form inside a partial
That's
view.
okay.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Another question I have is that I was trying to make, inside my recipe, I was trying to create a list of ingredients. So for example, I could
I get it.
like, add all
I get it. Mm-hmm.
simple, but I was having a lot of problems.
Yeah. Don't make it simple.
For
Just
this one, should I use only simple string?
yeah. Just use a simple string. Even so, you can make it a big box there, but just use a simple string, because otherwise it will get
A lot
too.
easier. I was trying to make like, I made it work using a type of like create a type, a class ingredient,
Yep.
and a class instructions,
Yep.
and then I could add some like
It can work. It can
the
work.
ingredient, the quantity in units, for example.
That's
or
good.
only one big box. Both
Yeah.
worked, but the more complex ones was giving me a hard time. So
I get it. Yep.
thanks.
Okay. So anyone has any other specific questions? Okay. The switch? Do you have a question? There. Or just wanted to see? See? Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to open a few of the questions that have been submitted. Hopefully, most of them were addressed during this conversation now. Let's see here. Okay, and again, the ones that I downloaded, I just took the names out. So you know if it's your question, but it's just you. When creating fields for head insurance and head operation before, what type should be? Yeah, so Boolean. I've shown that. What could be the problem if patient list view is not picking up razor syntax? Well, if you are still having this problem, let me know and I can have a look at 101 with you, but I cannot guess, really. It is by default, if has insurance is checked, it will be considered true. Yeah, so has insurance. If it's checked, it's true. If it's not checked, it's false. The same thing with the other checkbox. Okay. Okay, what command do you need to add before being able to use static CSS files? Well, again, just we went through that. In the startup, you need to add this. What actions are needed for the form? Well, usually for a form, you need an action to load it, you need a get action, and you need a post action. So you usually need both of them. Here is in our solution here. We have register as a get and register as a post to save the information. Okay. What is a way to bind the form fields into the model? We went through that. So if you look at the register, we did the model binding at the top, and then we can just link to each property inside the form. Again, if this is not clear, ask, let me know. Another one here. What is the meaning of dynamic elements of occupation and current date time? I guess I described that, so just to rephrase that. Again, patient should be replaced by the patient's name. Occupation by the occupation of the patient. Current date and time by the date and time of registration of that patient. How to use checkbox to display the value to the list. Well, in the list, we are not using the checkbox to display in the list. So we are just using a regular text here. Okay, so we are just doing like this. How to list patient's name in alphabetic order. Okay, so we did that in the controller under list. We just use the order by link method, and we say which property are we using to create the order by. Okay? Okay. Great. Anything else? Ask now or silent yourself forever.
I actually have a quick question.
Sure.
So if you go back to your justifications, if you it was under the register,
Under register? Like the get
the
or
actual register home, like or
the view?
yes.
Okay.
So if you scroll down, the one that's supposed to be a checkbox. Okay,
Yep.
so you just type, if you don't actually type checkbox, does it actually automatically go? Because when I ran mine without having that inputted, it runs, but it runs on the back side.
If you don't,
Take
you
a
mean,
type checkbox.
so if you take this out,
Yeah,
it will come up as a regular text box.
I think it actually comes with this checkbox.
Yeah, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe this is, so maybe this ASP4 is picking up that this is a Boolean, and it's figuring that out. I didn't know that it was that smart, but hey, let's give it a try. Because maybe this is already taking care of that. It's figuring out that this is a Boolean, so a Boolean should not be a text box. It's good to know. Yep, good. I didn't know that. Actually, let me get rid of it. And I can get rid of it as well. Okay, so here's what I suggest. Let's have a 10 minutes break so we can all come back fresh and new, and then we can carry on with our midterm, okay?
Você outra coisa que eu tô querendo pro bônus, eu achei que era pra mandar projeto.
I
não
saw
um
it.
Word.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. Okay.
See you later.
Okay. No problem. No worries.
So how long is the timing?
Break?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 10 minutes.